my channel. It's been a couple weeks since I posted. I took a little break because I was sick with pneumonia, but I'm feeling better now. Today I'll take a break from my story and I'll celebrate my sober birthday. Hi, my name is Chelsea and I'm an alcoholic. Those are the words that I have found myself saying for 5 years now. I became an alcoholic in my early 30s. Before that, I had a relatively normal drinking career. I mean, I drank with friends, but I didn't overindulge. I'm going to do a whole video about what led to my alcoholism and my alcoholic life. It's an interesting story, to say the least. But for right now, I'll just say I became an alcoholic because I had trouble adapting to life. I saw my life as a person with a disability and I couldn't deal with it. So I just started to drink. It became easier to be drunk all the time than to face life as someone with a disability. Of course, at that time, I didn't know this. I just was having fun being drunk. But like most alcoholics, there was a deeper problem. Alcoholism has little to do with alcohol itself. Usually there's a different problem underneath. I like the feeling of being out of control. A drunken alcohol counselor once told me that the difference between alcoholic and a normal drinker. Alcohol makes you feel out of control. Most drinkers don't like the feeling of being out of control and they stop when they get that feeling. But we alcoholics love that feeling of being out of control. We crave it because it covers up the problem we are avoiding. Most people with disabilities that I know are terrified of being out of control. They spend most of their days trying to fight for what little control they can get over their lives. Therefore, in my experience, most people with disabilities are terrified of being drunk. No, I'm not saying all people with disabilities are like this. I have met the occasional fellow drinker drunk and losing what little control they have. I also think a lot of people with disabilities are afraid to drink to the point of being out of control. Either they are on meds or they have been told by their doctor not to drink. If they listen, that was one thing about me. I was on meds and I had been told by my doctor not to drink, but I didn't listen. I never listened to doctors. And it also made my mom so nervous when I drank. She told me not to drink too, but I didn't care. Even before I became an alcoholic, back when I drank normally, I didn't listen to my doctor or my mom. My attitude was, I'm not going to let my doctor stop me. I've had this attitude my whole life, and sometimes it does serve me well. I didn't let the doctor stop me when they said I wouldn't be able to walk. I didn't let the doctor stop me when they said I couldn't ride a bike. So a healthy defiance of authority has served me well over the years. But in the case of alcohol, let's just say I probably could have listened to them more. I have been sober 1,462 days. That's 4 years. I was not a good person 4 years ago. I was your typical addict. I lied, cheated, and stole if it would get me my next drink. I was very manipulative. I told people whatever they wanted to hear just so they would get off my back and let me drink how I wanted. I had always been a pretty good kid. I didn't really cause trouble growing up. And boy, did I use this to my advantage. I mean, I couldn't possibly be in trouble with drinking because I'm a good kid. Or at least that's what I convinced people of. Yep, I use that against anyone that tried to talk to me about my drinking. Today I'm happy to say I'm not that person. Today honesty is really important to me. I'm probably one of the most honest persons you'll come across because I've seen and I've experienced what happens when honesty takes a back seat. I always laugh when people try to come up with excuses for the best explanation for something. I always say, why don't you just be honest? were offered a drink, and they were coming up with all sorts of excuses. And I said, why don't you just be honest and say you're in recovery? It seems like the best solution to me, but they looked at me like I was an alien. That's what the channel is about, honesty. I want my channel to be about honesty. I want to show the good, the bad, and the ugly of living life with a disability. I've seen other creators with disabilities, and they seem to give an idealized version of living life with a disability. I don't know them, so maybe that's how their life is. I don't know, but my life is far from perfect. Some days living with a disability absolutely sucks. There are many people with disabilities that live every day with a multitude of problems, and they won't be fixed with a positive attitude. That's a common phrase I hear from certain people with disabilities. Oh, everything will be better if you just have a positive attitude. Well, in my experience, sometimes there are problems that just won't be fixed with a positive attitude. And that needs to be discussed too. Yes, right now my life is great. I couldn't even imagine it being better. But I got to that place after decades of struggle. I've struggled with addiction to substances and behaviors. I've struggled with an eating disorder. I've struggled with depression. I've been diagnosed with a personality disorder. I've been in the mental hospital at least 6 times. I've been to 4 drug and alcohol treatments. I've lost friends because of my behavior. I've been on top of the mountain thinking I was on top of the world, but I've also been to the lowest of lows. My channel is about my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If my channel is about one thing, it's about honesty. So, happy 4th silver birthday to me, and come along with me as I journey through life. Thank you and goodbye.